Queen Bess Feast by Ben Hecht. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Reading by Bologna Times. Queen Bess's Feast by Ben Hecht. Elizabeth Winslow, who was a short, fat woman with an amazing gift of profanity and known to the police as Queen Bess, is dead. According to the coroner's report, Queen Bess died suddenly in a Wabash Avenue rooming house at the age of 70. 25 years ago, Queen Bess rented rooms and sold drinks according to the easygoing ideas of that day. But there was something untouched by the sordidness of her calling about this ample Rabelaisian woman. There was a noise about Queen Bess lacking in her harpy contemporaries. Big-hearted Bess, the coppers used to call her, and Queenie was the name her employees had for her. But to customers she was always Queen Bess. In the district where Queen Bess functioned, the gossip of the day always prophesied dismally concerning her. She didn't save her money. Queen Bess didn't. And the time would come when she'd realize what that meant. And the idea of Queen Bess blowing in $5,000 for a tally-ho layout to ride to the races in. 6 horses and 2 drivers in yellow and blue livery, and girls all dressed like sore thumbs, and the beribboned and painted coach bouncing down the boulevard to Washington Park. A lot of good that would do her in her old age. But Queen Bess went her way, throwing her tainted money back to the town as fast as the town threw it into her purse, roaring, swearing, laughing. A thumping sentimentalist, a clownish Samaritan, a Madame Aphrodite by Rube Goldberg. There are many stories that used to go the rounds, but when I read the coroner's report, there was one tale in particular that started up in my head again. A mawkish tale, perhaps, and if I write it with too maudlin a slant, I know who will wince the worst. Queen Bess, of course, who will sit up in her grave and, fastening a blazing eye on me, curse me out for every variety of fathead and imbecile known to her exhaustive calendar of epithets. Nevertheless, in memory of the set of Oscar Wilde's works presented to my roommate 12 years ago one Christmas morning by Queen Bess, and in memory of the 6 world-famous oaths this great lady invented, here goes. Let Bess roar in her grave. There's one thing she can't do, and that's call me a liar. It was a Thanksgiving day, and years ago, and my roommate Ned and I were staring glumly over the roofs of the town. I've got an invitation for Thanksgiving dinner for both of us, said Ned, but I feel kind of doubtful about going. I inquired what kind of invitation. An engraved invitation, grinned Ned. Here it is. I'll read it to you. He read from a white card. You are cordially invited to attend a Thanksgiving dinner at the home of Queen Bess, Blank Street and Wabash Avenue, at 3 o'clock. You may bring one gentleman friend. Why not go? I asked. I'm a New Englander at heart, smiled Ned, and Thanksgiving is a sort of meaningful holiday, particularly when you're alone in the great and wicked city. I've inquired of some of the fellows about Queen Bess' dinner. It seems that she gives one every Thanksgiving, and that they're quite a tradition or institution. I can't find out what sort they are, though. I suspect some sort of an orgy on the order of the Black Mass. At 2 o'clock we left our room and headed for the house of Queen Bess. A huge and ornamental chamber known as the ballroom or the parlor had been converted into a dining room. Ned and I were early. 6 or 7 men had arrived. They stood around, ill at ease, looking at the flamboyant paintings on the wall as if they were inspecting the Titian room of some museum. Ned, who knew the town, pointed out 2 of the 6 as men of means. One was manager of a store. One was a billiard champion in a Michigan Avenue club. Gradually the room filled up. A dozen more men arrived. Each was admitted by invitation, as we had been. Sally, the colored mammy of the house, took charge and bade us be seated. Some 20 men took their places about the long rectangular table, and then a pianist entered. I think it was Professor Schultz. He played the piano in the ballrooms of the district. He came in a brand-new frock coat and patent leather shoes, and sat down at the ivories. There was a pause, and then the professor struck up, doloroso, pianissimo, the tune of Home, Sweet Home. As the first notes carrying the almost audible words, mid-pleasures and palaces, arose from the piano, the folding doors at the end of the ballroom parted, and there appeared Queen Bess, followed by 15 of the girls who sold drinks for her. Queen Bess was dressed in black, her white hair coiffured like a hospital superintendent's. Her girls were dressed in simple afternoon frocks. Neither rouge nor beads were to be seen on them. And as the professor played Home, Sweet Home, Queen Bess marched her companions solemnly down the length of the ballroom and seated them at the table. I remember that before the numerous servitors started functioning, Queen Bess made a speech. She stood up at the head of the table, her red face beaming under her white hair and her black eyes commanding the attention of the men and women before her. "All of you know who I am, blankety-blank," said Queen Bess, "and blankety-blank what a reputation I got. All of you know. But I've invited you to this blankety-blank dinner, hoping you will humor me for the afternoon and pretend you forget. I would like to see you enjoy yourselves at the banquet board, eat and drink what wine there is, and laugh and be thankful, but without pulling any blankety-blank rough stuff. I would like to see you enjoy yourselves as if you were in your own homes, which I take it none of you gentlemen have got, seeing you are sitting here at the board of Queen Bess. Now, gentlemen," she concluded, "if it's asking too much of you to forget, the fault is mine and not yours, and nobody will be penalized or bawled out blankety-blank him for being unable to forget. But if you can forget, and if you can let us enjoy ourselves for an afternoon in a blankety-blank, decent and God-fearing way, God love you." And Queen Bess sat down. We ate and drank and laughed till 7 o'clock that evening. And I remember that not one of the 20 men present used a profane word during this time. Not one of them did or said anything that wouldn't have passed muster in his own home, if he had one. And that no one got drunk except Queen Bess. Yes, Queen Bess, in her black dress, got very drunk and swore like a trooper and laughed like a crazy child. And when the party was over, Queen Bess stood at the door, and we passed out, shaking hands with her, and giving her our thanks. She stood, steadying herself against the door-beam, and saying to each of us as she shook our hands, "God love you. God love you for bringing happiness to a blankety-blank blank like old Queen Bess." End of Queen Bess's Feast by Ben Hecht.